Wait.
Or not.
Almost.
All right, we're live now.
We live?
Yeah.
All right, bet.
It's live on YouTube.
All right, cool. So, good morning, everyone. We just gonna get this started. At 8 o'clock, as y'all know, we're gonna end up going live. Let me change this. All right, so we're gonna end up going live at 8 on the radio, but right now we're going live right now. So we're just gonna go ahead and talk about this. So we have with us our guest off of some crazy controversy, which we'll get into more on the air. I know I definitely want to talk about that. But you know what? Let's go into that first, and then on the air, I'm probably gonna introduce you and get into more of like what you experienced when it came to that situation that went out on the news. Yeah. And then I want to talk about your situation with Amistad. Okay. You know, like your whole experience there. You know what I mean? So we got Steve Cotton. What's going on, brother?
What's up? Yes,
all right. And you are former behavioral specialist for Achievement First. Tell us exactly what behavioral specialists do at the school.
I'm actually a certified paraprofessional. The school will, they give you kind of like a fancy title or whatever, but the basic job of a behavior specialist is whenever a scholar gets in trouble in class, they call the behavior specialist. The behavior specialist comes and removes the scholar from the classroom, usually tries and calm the kid down before bringing him to the ISC room, which is the independent study room. Okay. But ironically, there's not a lot of studying going on. They call it a reflection space. So you bring them to that reflection space where they usually stay for like 50 minutes, and then you try and get them back to class.
Okay. All right. So pretty much like when they act up, you're the one they call.
I'm the police.
You're the police of the school.
Police at the school.
Okay. And
the ops, as the kids would say.
This when you first started your school year as a behavioral specialist, what was your experience like the first year?
I started off there as a security guard. I was at the door, just holding the door for the kids and making sure that they were safe outside. And they actually saw me just mentoring kids from a security guard level. And the director of operations at the time asked me if I would like to work inside the building with the kids because he heard how good of a job I was doing. And so that first year that I started as a behavior specialist, my eyes were still closed. So it was a wonderful, experience. For the first time, I'm making more money than I had made. I didn't have to do nothing extra on the side to get money, which was a big plus to me. Made me feel more like a man. I had a job that was stable, I could feed my family off of, and on top of that, I was able to help black and brown kids. I was winning all the way around.
Yeah.
So at first it was like a dream come true because I always wanted to help, in my community.
And when did it start? When did certain things start to occur and you're like, hold up, man, what's up with this?
I would say the first real big aha moment for me was during the protest. That very first protest.
The protest that was about not enough black teachers, right?
Not enough black teachers.
So that was the second year?
That was like my second year being there. Yeah.
How many black teachers were there at the time?
I'm talking about literally a handful, and I'm talking about staff and teachers together, probably a combined maybe like 15, if it was like really that number.
Now they were like, all right, get these teachers in.
Now we had to get teachers in, so they made that little quick fix for the kids. But the aha moment came because I thought I was at a school that was teaching kids how to be leaders, how to advocate for themselves, right? So now when the protest happens, of course it wasn't pretty. It didn't look cute because the kids never been taught how to organize. They've never been taught, how to be revolutionary. So they did it the best way they knew how. And the opinion of the staff inside the building that day and of like the principal and everybody was like, a lot of people, I'm not gonna say everybody, but a lot of people was real negative. Everybody had something negative to say. Look at them. Why they out there protesting? Why they out there? Why would you protest when you have this beautiful building and all of these nice books? And that comment actually came from a parent who I asked him, I said, so because they giving the kids crumbs, they not supposed to want a slice of bread? And because they got the slice of bread, are they not supposed to want a whole loaf? Like they trying to get fed.
So show us what that looks like in terms of
the crumbs and the slice of bread in terms of actually the school, what.
So right now we're asking parents to send our kids to Amistad because we're gonna give your kid the best education that you can get in New Haven.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm asking parents is, do we sacrifice our children's mental health and emotional state in order to get that good education that you're supposedly giving out?
Mm.
And we all know, like, the education system as a whole for Black and Hispanic people, you're not really teaching us the things that we need to function in society. Most of us find ourselves relearning the things our undergraduates learned in school.
Mm.
So, that's what I'm trying to ask a lot of people. Like, just think about that. What does that mean? Like, for your kid, would you rather have your kid in good emotional and mental health, or do you want them with an education or stressed out, burnt out by the time you're 20 something?
So you got a lot of backlash from parents.
I got a little backlash from parents. What I actually found was I wasn't as crazy as people might have thought I was.
Right.
There's over hundreds of messages I received, text messages from parents, old staff at Achievement First, confirming, that they've had these same experiences.
Wow.
The thing is that nobody is talking about it.
Mm.
Achievement First is very good at sweeping things under the rug. Like, that's like their specialty, and that's something that I'm trying to also expose. I don't think I did a good job in my 45-minute.
You don't think so? Oh yeah, we gonna go into it more.
Yeah, but
I think you exposed a lot.
I exposed a lot,
yeah.
But people's attention span is very short.
Yeah,
and
I know.
people see what they want to see,
right,
and hear what they want to hear, and
right.
People, because I wasn't talking about very like lasered in specific things, people just thought I was like some angry, disgruntled Black dude going off on a rant.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell anybody, like, remember, like, I let y'all know, I quit that job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That was thought out. That was something that I had to struggle and wrestle with.
Yeah.
Like, do I leave or do I stay? So that was a conscious decision to go, because I saw what was wrong and knew that it needed to be, told.
What are the because just to play devil's advocate here, mm-hmm. right? And my daughter goes to Achievement First. Now, to be clear, we're talking about Achievement First, or do you feel chartered schools themselves, the system and the ways charter schools are set up and designed, are somehow embedded with academic racism and other things?
I'm gonna say, I think like Dr. Umar Johnson, he just basically, he was letting people know, throw the whole damn system away. Throw the whole system away. It doesn't serve Black and brown kids in general. So I'm not even like picking on Achievement First or charter schools in general. I think we need to throw the whole system away.
Absolutely.
But I was focused in on Achievement First. I can't talk about other charter schools because I never worked there. I didn't experience their environment, but I have experienced the environment of Achievement First. And since coming out with the story, I saw a couple of people that wanted to know, was this an isolated incident?
Mm.
Was this just at your high school? And I can officially say that it's not just my high school. It's now Bridgeport schools. It was the Hartford.
Is that because you're getting calls from people?
Calls and messages, and that's confirming, like, yo, I got a message from a lady out in AF Brooklyn, New York, and she was like, yo, your video, the timing was infallible. She was like, we're at the boiling point right now. Like we're ready to demonstrate.
Wow.
Like, we want to get out there and demonstrate to like get this message out. So this is New York, and then we got Hartford, where I found out I just put a big piece of the puzzle together, which I'm trying to bring that light to people too. Like, I'm talking about some corruption when it comes down to the disciplinary system within Achievement First. So here we are talking about my particular situation where I exposed the principal putting his hands on people, right? The news came out and the news says that the school issued a statement where they basically was saying like, well, he was on his way out anyway. He was on his way out anyway. We was already looking for new leadership.
They were saying that about you.
They were saying that about Bart.
Oh, about Bart, the principal.
Yeah,
okay.
He was. Okay. They already had him on his way out, and they were already looking for new leadership. So if you was already looking for new leadership, why not get rid of that man in October?
Right.
When I sent you all the email, which I do have proof of, I sent that email straight to the top. I sent it to Doug and Daisha Toles. They're the CEOs of achievement first.
I want to get to that too. The
Are
CEO.
we talking about white people?
Well, of course, we're talking about white
I just
people.
the elephant in the room.
We're talking about white
I
people.
feel like that's a recurring question for you.
All the time. Were they white? Every time there's an issue. Were they white?
Sometimes it's a question, sometimes it's a statement.
But you know what I mean? It's a good question to be had because most of the time when we're getting down to what's behind our issue,
right.
It's a white person.
Yeah.
It's somebody who thought that they had the answer for us.
Yeah.
And I'm asking people, why do we keep waiting? Why are we waiting for a white knight to come save us?
Now, let's be clear about the are chartered schools for profit or nonprofit?
I think they're considered nonprofit, and they receive like half of their funding from the state, and then they receive the other half of the funding from private donors. Mm-hmm.
So they pretty much run their own shit, right? Like
they definitely run their own shit. They don't really have to. Not that they don't answer anybody, but they got to go in front of like the Board of Education, explain why they're doing the things that they're doing. But they kind of operate, in my book, separately.
Can the Board of Ed shut them down?
Obviously not, or else they would have done it a long time ago. The Board of Ed, from what I've gotten over the last 4 years, is that there's an ongoing like tension there.
Okay.
You know, because here our New Haven public schools are struggling for funding to educate our kids and give them the proper books and stuff. And achievement first is getting half of the state money, plus you're getting these private donations, which allows you to do a lot more. So New Haven, there's an ongoing tension there because they want to know, why are you getting all the money? If we had the money, we could do those same things too. Right. Which in my book is the truth.
Yeah, if the public schools had the money.
If they had the money. We got people over there making $90,000 a year working part-time. Mm-hmm. Our principal makes almost $180,000 a year.
What?
Word.
The principal that's in this that shoved the student.
Yeah.
$180,000 a year.
Makes about $180,000 a year. That's big fact.
That's insane.
That's big fact.
That's insane,
That's
bro.
Stupidly insane. But the kids over at the school, ask them ask parents. If parents is thinking, how many field trips your kids go on besides them college trips that they send them on? How many actual field trips do they go on where they get to go have outside real world experiences to help them develop and grow? How many? But we giving all that money. Matter of fact, we talk about the increase in fights that happen over there. They cut 2 behavior specialists off of our team to give more money to bring on deans, to bring on leaderships.
Yeah, I was almost a dean over there. I was a hip hop sociologist teacher, Ishmael. You know what's crazy, Ish? You know what I mean? Salute to Ish.
Yes.
Yo, you, T Hurt, Jesse, Loke, Keese, Peace, all y'all were the problem kids. Do you know that? They were brought to me as a hip hop sociologist because you were the problem kids. Now look at y'all. You about to be a cop. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, not no more. They denied me.
What?
State police said nah.
For now.
For now.
You going again
though,
right? All right. So you about to be a cop, right? Keese is a great father doing this thing with his own, doing construction. You got Jesse, who is a unbelievable artist. You know what I'm saying? You got Loke, graduated college. Like he said, was the problem kids were nowhere near a problem at all.
Nah.
So there was a disconnect between the way they saw them and who they really were.
There's a lot of that going on over there at Achievement First. A big disconnect with those so-called problem kids. And that's another thing I've been trying to speak to too is people gotta realize it's a part of that's a business, just like the prison a business, and that's why we talk about that school to prison pipeline. They're doing things purposely. They want to label your kid, as bad. That means that they could label your kid with ADHD, educational, some type of educational disability. And now we can start talking about getting your kids on these 504 plans, other behavior.
504 plans, what's that?
They're just behavioral plans that we, especially at Achievement First, that we use. If you're having a recurrent issue with a kid, after a while they usually get a behavioral plan where now the school can modify the supports for that scholar. So certain kids, because they displayed emotional outbursts, they might now be given 5-minute walks or something like that, or this kid is allowed to stand out in the hallway or sit in the hallway for a certain amount of time to calm down. And though I think some kids needed it, I literally saw some kids abuse it. Why? Because they're being given, they're kids. So if you're telling me that you're going to give me free time at school, of course they're going to bite on it. And they're only able to take advantage because the adults in the building are the ones offering the opportunities. You know, your kid, if you as a parent offer your kid cookies every day, your kid's going to take those cookies every day. You're the adult. It's your responsibility to know, you know, when to say no and when to hold that child accountable. And nobody's holding our children accountable, but they love to point the finger when they're off the hook.
So one of the things I wanted to definitely play devil's advocate on is the fact that, so my daughter goes to an achievement first school. She's 5 years old. And I only was cool with that, and her mother and I agree. It's only up until about first grade, that's it. And then she's coming out. You know what I'm saying? Because I do like this discipline they instill. I think there's a discipline that they set, a standard that they set that I do like. And while she'll get it at home, I would like her to also be able to have to practice that in another space where her parents aren't around, right? I can't really say that it would have increased. She's always been advanced with reading and with writing and with, like, you know, speaking English and all that. She's always been advanced. So I can't say that Amistad increased it, you know, her skills, her reading level and all that. But I can say that, she's learning well.
Yes.
She's learning really well. And statistically, a lot of the students, you know, their reading levels go up when they go to these chartered schools. You know, would you say academically that they are good for our students?
I say academically, I think that they give them a rigorous curriculum, but when we're talking about where the kids actually are, like in their education, a lot of the numbers and a lot of the reports you've given are kind of fudged. You know, everybody's like I had a scholar explain to me. He was a senior at the time, and he was telling me that they had just took their interim assessment, the IA. Real big at Achievement First. That's where they get a lot of their quantifiable data from. And he was explaining to me that kids were getting like 60 and 70 point curves on those IAs. So as a parent, you got your daughter who you're saying, my kid is advanced, my kid is on the money, but how on the money is your child? And how will you ever know how on the money your child really is if somebody's giving you false reports about her academics? I had a teacher explain to me that white man explained to me that that the system that they use, that the system that they use there, he referred to it as academic racism. He says we create a space where kids who...
The white man said this.
The white man said this. Okay, white man said this. He said that it's academic racism what we do over here. He says we create ceilings where kids who are above average kind of like cap out right there, and then we raise the bar for kids who are lower so that it all looks like we all way on a level, you know, and it looks good for funding. I had a lot of people explain, they do these observations. They do a lot of observations over at the school. Why? Because they're looking for certain things. They want to set the classroom up to be appealing to the eye of a donor. So, they want the main thing that they're focused on. Why discipline is so big over there is because if you got the kids in line when the donors come through, it just looks better for fun.
Isn't that what they said with the Willie Lynch? Isn't that what they said? Keep them in line.
Keep them in line.
Keep them in order. That's why they called Willie, because there was too many uprisings and too much going on. He said, keep them in line, man, and produce better for feeding, for stock, for all of that. This is crazy.
And I wanted to just say, like, for like your daughter, who is a bright scholar, who has two parents at home.
And I like that they use scholar.
I love that. But for a child who comes to school every day, who has both of their parents at home, right? And we're okay. Yeah. But you got two parents who are investing in your future, right?
Yep.
That child might come to school with a different demeanor, so you fit right into the system and the system works for you. You're able to get the education that they're trying to give. But what about the hundreds of other kids inside the school now that aren't waking up like that? I've had young people tell me, yo, man, like, they all on my back. They don't understand. I just woke up this morning and came to school late after walking to school, after being up all night, because I was sleeping in a room that had dog feces, you know, like in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like, kids are telling stories like that. And, you know, when you realize that you have a child like that in your school, you need to try to, you know, you got to support them. You know, they always ask me, well, what are you doing to calm these kids down? Like, is it magic? No, it's not magic. It's being human. It's being attentive and treating them like they're my child.
Right.
You know, not looking at them as somebody else's kid. You know, and that's a big, homicide doesn't foster that. The education is fine. It's the emotional, you know,
social
emotional that they're not developing.
I got fired from Amistad over on James Street.
The way you talk about white people, I know.
Yo, listen, white people, you got to stop with the foolishness now, bro. And if you ever need any type of support, you know what I mean, on another level,
definitely,
we here, bro. On some realness, we here, bro. If you need that, man, we here. So, you know, since you're not the only security,
that's right,
we in the building. But yeah, they fired me because I did the same thing. I got brought in by Miss Johnson because of the work we was doing in the community real quick. And when the kids was bad, they sent them to the space where I was at. I had a classroom. And the kids, Miss Johnson came back and told me, the principal was Mr. Teller. Miss Johnson came back and told me, yo, they test scores is going up. You know what I mean? They seem like they more focused. They was all happy anyway. The kids, you know, because these are my people. So we had a understanding.
An authentic relationship.
I hear I'm coming around the corner and I hear the kids was in the hallway wilding. I come around the corner, the principal was trying to get them to stop. The kids was like, yo, here come Brother Remedy. And they just straightened right up. From the end of the hallway I was walking, all the way down to Mr. Teller, man, he just looked at me dead in my face, son.
Yeah, I've heard this story.
Couple of weeks later, we ain't got funding.
Yeah.
We gotta let you go. We ain't got the funding for you.
And that's the thing, and that was the same thing with me. They brought me inside because I was a raw, from the neighborhood dude, and they saw how the kids were responding to me. But at the same time, they try and discourage you from making any real impact inside the school. I was told to cut my conversation shorts with kids.
Really?
You know, I'm giving kids my time, and it wasn't easy, but I'm giving kids 20 minutes, half an hour if I can, to just talk to me about your morning, so I could really let you get whatever's on your chest off, and you could go into the classroom and actually get some learning done today, instead of that one moment that happened to you this morning messing up your whole day because you're in and out of ISC.
Right.
You know, and they told me, hey, you're doing too much. Like, you need to cut those conversations short. You need to keep them to about like 5 minutes the most and move on to the next student. You know, and that's not what our kids need, and the teachers are put under that same pressure, you know, to do it.
Have you seen students come in one way and then decline in some kind of way, or go more in their shell, or
I've seen
be
kids
more detached?
Yeah, I've seen kids who are angry at the parent because they're coming home and telling their parents what's going on at the school, and the parents are like, no, you need to straighten up your shit. You need to get your life together. You know, it ain't the school, it's you. You know, and they're like, yo, Mom, like, yeah, I do certain stuff, but Mom, I'm not doing everything and the parents is telling them to beat it. So, you know, now the kid is coming to school, they're mad at the parents, they're mad at the fucking teacher that just, you know, that they feel is just doing them wrong, and nobody's addressing those issues. And so, yeah, they slowly decline. Of course, those are the kids that you see in the hallway more. Of course, you got to go chase them out of the bathroom. They're totally disengaged from the school environment at that point, and nobody's talking about it.
Because, I mean, what's crazy is the idea of charter schools, like calling them scholars, the demerit system, you know, the discipline you have to have, and the, you know, behavioral focus that you have to have, is all across the board. It's all across the country. Like, that's the common theme for all of them. Do you think that should be somehow incorporated in public schools?
I mean, of course. And I just attended like a Board of Alders meeting with the Board of Ed. They were talking about, you know, education, discipline and stuff. And I believe that type of rigor is supposed to be in every school. You know, we should be pushing our kids academically as far as possible. But the principal from John Martinez School he says that the climate and the culture of a school must be set before any real learning can be done. So how do you expect kids to really learn in an environment that they view as hostile and oppressive? It's not going to happen.
So we're going to go live on the radio.
Whether they can articulate it or not.
In 50 seconds, so y'all put your headphones on. I'll let you know when we're hot.
Yeah, you
The
gotta
mics
come.
are
You gotta
on?
come in, bro. So you can be real, close to the mic. We got talking to the mics.
Pump it up.
They playing that throwback.
Pump it up.
That's Joe Budden.
No, I don't know what they playing.
You know they ain't playing no
Can't. We ain't got no sound, Jay.
94.3.
He said
What's wrong with
pump
you?
it up.
Oh yeah, they playing that throwback. You can hear.
The Mary J.
Man.
That mic don't work. You don't want to put the. .3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city and home of the Juan Castillo Morning Show. Good morning, New Haven. This is Moving Target Radio. I'm your boy, Jay Kemp. And of course, my co-host and brother, Remedy Sharif. What's good, brother?
Peace and blessings.
And we got the CEO of Her, helping each other recover. Zulima, what's good?
What's going on? Good morning, everybody.
Hey, real quick, you know, I usually do like, hey, what we doing this weekend? You know, but there's only one thing that I got on my mind.
I know,
right?
man.
You know
Listen,
what it is?
Man. Yeah, I know what it is.
What
man.
is it?
You want to talk about my Dallas Cowboys, man.
Oh,
you want to talk about my... But, hey, Scott Linehan got fired. I'm good with that.
See, I wasn't even going to talk. Definitely not talk about Cowboys. I'm trying to talk about something that's winning right now.
March 9th.
And March
See,
9th.
Disrespectful.
March 9th is a win. Listen, March 9th at the State House, 310 State House, we are doing the first moving talk. Well, it's really not the first live show. We've done live shows in front of an audience before.
Right.
But this is going to be epic because it's a live show where in the building we're going to have nothing but grassroots work, nonprofit work.
Phenomenal.
Everybody that does something in the state I mean, we're going to prove the power that we have to build a society within a society on March 9th.
Yes.
And we got some special guest speakers. So make sure you cop a ticket. All right, tickets are going to be going on sale first thing Monday morning. So make sure you follow the page and get more information on that.
Phenomenal.
All right. But let's get right into it. We already started on Facebook Live, at 7:30, but we want to really continue this. We have behavioral specialist Steve Cotton. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, brother? Peace.
Speaking to the mic for me, brother.
Peace. What's going on, brother?
So if y'all don't know, and we're gonna make sure that we share this video after the show, you did a live video about your experience at a charter school here in New Haven.
Yes, sir. A long 45-minute rant that y'all with at the time. I know it was pretty long, but it was very deep and close to the heart.
And we also have a former student who went to this charter school. Ishmael, what's good, bro?
Good morning.
Matter of fact, you were a student of mine.
I was a student of yours. So I first met Jay. I was in his hip hop history class. This is back when Amistad High School was first implementing the rules that they have today. So they actually implemented them my sophomore year. So my freshman year, these rules were not in place. So I got to witness firsthand the change that turned Achievement First to basically what it is today.
Okay, all right. So now we're questioning the credibility or the effectiveness of charter schools, right? Specifically this school, Amistad High School here in New Haven. But with charter schools, for those that don't know, can you just break down what exactly are chartered schools?
Honestly, I can't really break down exactly what a charter school is besides where they get their funding from and the way they operate. These are schools that aren't fully state funded, so they don't, have to, I guess, play by the exact same rules. They
have to present to the Board of Ed, but they can't really shut them down.
Yeah, they
kind of hire who they want.
Yeah, they hire who they want. Their structure is set up a little bit different. It's set up more like a corporation versus like a school, because like they use the word principal, but like legally they're really like a school manager on paper. They're not really referred to as principals and things.
All right, so they have private donors, and then they get the other half from
state
the state.
funding. Yes, sir.
Okay. We spoke about you coming on to the show and us discussing the experience you had there, but right after we spoke, the news broke about at Amistad High School, the principal physically getting violent with a student.
Yes, sir.
Tell me do you know about the situation? Did you see it? Tell me about what happened with this.
With that particular situation, I was upstairs at the moment in the ISC room. One of my co-workers came up and they told me that Morgan had been hit by a scholar. And at that, he's asking me to check the cameras and stuff. So I checked the cameras, and what I saw wasn't a scholar hitting Morgan, but actually Morgan putting his hands on that scholar. And from the time I saw the video, I was like, yo, this can't slide. Like, this just can't be let go. Like, this is it. Like, he does a lot of intimidating and stuff around here, but like, yo, you just really pushed it too far. So I didn't wait. I immediately crafted an email. I sent it straight to the top, Doug and Daisha Tolles. I sent it directly to them. I sent it to Jeff Sudmeyer, who's
Doug and Daisha Tolles?
Daisha Tolles.
Daisha Tolles. And what position are they?
They are like the CEOs of Achievement First.
Okay.
I don't know that there gets any bigger than them. These are the guys who founded the school.
Okay.
So I sent it to them. I sent it to the superintendent, Jeff Sudmeyer at the time. I sent it to the principal, Morgan Barth, and I sent it to their director of operations, Sandy Mackey. And I didn't really get a big response. Jeff, the superintendent, reached back out to me, told me that we could talk. Jeff ended up coming into the building like the following like Tuesday or something, and he came in with Doug, with the CEO. And they walked around all day. I kept hearing that Jeff wants to speak with you. Jeff wants to speak with you. And he caught me at the end of the day where he told me that he didn't handle the situation himself, that they were letting HR handle the situation. But once he got involved and he saw the video, that it was just unacceptable what he saw. And he agrees with me wholeheartedly that these were not like CPI certified techniques that
This
Morgan.
is the superintendent agreeing.
Superintendent agreeing with me. He also agreed with my email where I asked that we be fully transparent with the family and show them the video that was there. He says,
How long ago did this take place?
this happened back in like October.
Back in October.
It happened like October. And he says, I agree with you. He says, we're definitely going to be transparent with the parents. We're gonna give them an opportunity to see the video and let them draw their own conclusion. And I haven't really like told this story because I haven't touched base with Dad yet, but needless to say, like, that didn't happen. Jeff lied to me that day. He didn't do any of the things that they said that they were gonna do. They didn't even show them the proper angle of the video. They showed them a video that was like from an angle down the hall. You understand? And I try and tell people, like, when things like that happen at Achievement First, that's not by mistake. That's by design. That's an intentional, that's something intentional to deceive you, the parent and the staff. Because here he is, he knew I was a man of color. He knew it didn't sit well with me. So let me calm him down by telling him that we're gonna do everything that he's asking us to do. Politician. And then behind closed doors, do the exact opposite. And had, I not taken it up, have me and Dad not known each other, been in contact, whatever, the information wouldn't have been exchanged.
Right.
So I also encourage, parents, man, we got to be talking to each other around these situations, work together versus working against each other. Because like I said, had we not been talking, I would have never known that Jeff had lied, to me.
And the video footage that's out now, to the public, is that the video footage you wanted them to initially show?
That's the video footage that I wanted them to initially show, because that was the best angle of the video. There's cameras all over that school, so for them to tell the parents that you didn't have another angle, you were clearly lying. And that's the angle that I wanted them to see.
And this principal, Morgan, so you said that there was intimidation.
Definitely, I think
prior to that.
Yeah, I mean, in the news, I kind of like talked about him as an overseer of a plantation. That wasn't just my sentiment. That's something that majority of the staff felt like. The way he squared up in the hallway in the morning, hands on the hip, feet spread apart. You're just kind of looking over the lay of the land. No real smile. You're not courteous or anything like that to the scholars. And put a straw hat on him, put a piece of straw in his mouth.
We back in Willie Lynch.
We right back in Willie Lynch.
Yeah.
And it's Massa all over again, looking over the plantation. And that's...
So let's go through your experience there, because on the video, you talk about a lot of things, and everyone was agreeing with you. You had others that obviously disagreed, and I think there's parents that would disagree with the criticism that charter schools get as a whole. And as a parent, we talked about before we went live, as a parent of a student that is going to kindergarten, at an Achievement First school, at a charter school, I like the education, and I do like the structure and the discipline that's put as a standard when she goes to school. I'm not going to have her there for middle school or high school. Just for the beginning years is fine. But from your experience, what have you seen that has been counterproductive to the progress of students?
I would say it's like I would say it was like the lack of training that teachers receive around being culturally competent. Like they're not culturally competent. Their heart is in the right place, but you haven't been given the proper training. So like I was mentioning before, kids coming in after, our kids don't have the same experience. A lot of them go home, they got to help parents with their younger siblings, cooking dinners, plus getting 2 to 3 hours of rigorous homework done, then waking back up at like 5 something in the morning to get on the bus at 6 to be to school at 7. And then, teachers who are not taking that into consideration, as you might be a little slumped in your seat, or, your head might be down. Instead of talking to you, we're immediately trained to issue the level 1s. Yes, as they tell you, it's as a warning.
Well, now, what are the level 1s?
Level 1, that's a demerit system. So,
Okay.
you know, if a kid is slouching, you say, hey, Jay, that's a level 1. I need you to, you know, get yourself up. And if the kid is, you know, in a funky mood, he might be like, you know, and well, that's a level 2 negative reaction. Now they're like, yo, mister, like, what?
Now we're really
Now,
getting crazy.
now we're getting crazy because it's like, yo, whoa, like you just gave me another level 1 for what? Like I'm just like, you know, and the teacher's like, well, that was a negative reaction. I had to give you the level 1. Kid don't agree with that. Most of the time, the teacher doesn't agree with it either, but they do it because this is what they're trained to do.
What do you mean they're trained to do?
So, beginning of the year, with the merit and demerit system, in the beginning of the year, first 6 weeks of school, you're encouraged to shower the scholars with merits to get them excited about the learning experience they're about to have. And after, so for the first 6 weeks, on Fridays, kids are coming in with these large, what they call Wolf Point report numbers. They got 500 points, you know, 400 points. And after that 6 weeks, the switch turns. We're literally usually brought into it comes up in a staff meeting where you're told to, now we're going to calm down on the merits and we're going to start with the demerits. Why? Because now it's time to start managing the classroom and making sure that the classroom looks the way AF wants it to look. Now you got a bunch of new teachers, right? And you're telling these new teachers to start issuing these demerits. They go kind of crazy with it, because if you don't issue the demerits, like myself, I was always pulled into the office. Well, Mr. Cotton, we're looking at your merit and demerit numbers, and it doesn't look like you're giving out any. And, you know, I always had to explain myself, like, no, because most of the time I'm on the move talking to kids in real time, and nobody has time to sit down at a computer putting in level 1s and 2s. I'd rather focus on the relationship that I'm building with the scholar.
Right.
And a lot of teachers don't have that opportunity. They're trained to give those level 1s and 2s, which causes the friction. So then the teacher, after so many level 1s and 2s and the perceived disruption, I'm called. And I come down, I grab the scholar. Now I'm bringing the scholar down to ISC. The kid's mad. He's like, yo, mister, I wasn't even doing nothing. I had my head down. I'm tired as heck, you know, from the night before. She's not listening to me. He didn't want to hear what I had to say. So, you know, I got a little bit upset.
And ISC is in-school suspension?
They call it Independent Study Center. It's supposed to act as a reflection space, but it's not. You know, it's not. And so now you bring the kid down to ISC, where it's our job as the behavioral staff to calm them down and try to make sense out of a situation that doesn't make sense to them. So now in a situation like that, I have to tell them, well, what happened? Mister, I had my head down. I was tired from the night before. The teacher didn't even ask me. She didn't let me go get a drink of water. Nothing. She just gave me the level 1. So I was trying to find out why she gave me the level 1. Then she gave me another one for inappropriate reaction. And like now I'm down here because I didn't understand. And you know, nobody takes that into consideration, that there was something going on with the scholar. 2 minutes of your time, a stay in the game conversation, and that kid could have continued their education for the day instead of spending 50 minutes in a space that's not productive.
Now they feel defeated.
I have a question. So even after they come to see you and you do whatever it is that you do to try to calm them down or alleviate the situation, is there something that goes on between the student and the teacher that gave them that, or is it just that they spoke with you and that's it?
No, they have it in place right now. They're real big on. They said because they know that there's a need for a restorative conversation.
Right.
So they say all teachers have to have a restorative conversation with the scholar. But teachers are on the go all day, and you're asking them to stop in on a prep break, in between, on their way to a class. So that the teacher is coming in trying to get a certain response from the scholar so that they can return them back to class. So if the kid's upset and the teacher comes in to talk to him, you know, the kid's like, miss, I don't even want to talk to you right now.
Right.
You know, I don't want to talk to you right now. Well, you have to talk to me. And now you're telling the kid that you have to talk to me now if you want to go back to class. And I can't tell you how many kids I've seen, you know, be so fed up that they said, you know what, I'd rather sit here than to allow you to force me into a conversation that I don't want to have right now with you because you did me wrong.
So you're experiencing what I think a lot of parents, you know, we hear this term thrown around, and I guess maybe it was just a provocative term, but it's just the truth. Like, this is an example of how we get into school to prison pipeline, where, you know, for your experience, like, can you talk about how you see that being a setup for a lot of students? Maybe if you see them at freshman year, but then by senior year, they're completely withdrawn. Have you seen that happen?
I got a young man right now. This dude, he's from Bridgeport. Young man is super duper smart. Like, he's an intelligent kid, but he's always cutting up. Like, he doesn't stay in class. Dude's running around the halls. And when I asked him about it, he says, listen, I'm finishing the work in like 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I'm finishing the work in 10 minutes. And they want me to sit there silent for the rest of the 40. He's like, I don't got nothing to stimulate me. So yeah, I kind of get fidgety, you know, and start doing little stuff. Right. Who's addressing that for that young man? Why have we not figured out how to challenge his mind even further?
Because instead, he's getting penalized all the time.
Exactly.
And
because
he's getting, you know, removed from the community.
Exactly.
You know, it's almost the same action that's taking place, the same experience that a child has. And I was reading more on this, was that the students that did go to some of these charter schools that ended up later on in life getting locked up, going to prison, a lot of their experiences were similar to what they experienced when they were in school, where they get in trouble, they get removed. You know, there was really no working with them or them,
exactly,
you know, him or her. Now, I know behaviorally, you know, academically, we said that there's a lot of great stuff that happens.
Exactly.
You know, so I think it's clear to make that clear to parents that this isn't necessarily criticizing what's being taught.
Not at all.
Even though I will criticize that, you know, yeah.
We need to be teaching some better stuff.
Absolutely, some better, you know, especially history. However, you were focusing more on the social and emotional development.
Exactly.
And you feel like that's where, and I agree that that's where a lot of these schools are failing our kids. Would you say that's across the board though, not just chartered?
That is now across the board, not just chartered. New Haven Public Schools, Kermit, Carolina right now did a phenomenal job. Him and his team down at the Board of Alders meeting of expressing that to the alders, that we need to be implementing more programs that focus on the training of teachers, more, you know, culturally competent. Also just training them how to deal with the intricate structure that is the black family, you know, that is the inner city, you know, family or the inner city community.
I question whether it could be done.
What does that sound like though? That sound like the same thing we talk about when we talk about the police. You got these, and how many of the teachers and people like that live in our communities?
Thank you.
You know what I mean? None of you're hiring police from way out somewhere. They don't culturally understand black and brown people, and they don't live in the community. There's nothing that's truly invested. You know, they have no you know, nothing to invest in.
There's always that one dangerous minds teacher.
Yeah, you know, there's always that one.
Right.
There's always that one.
Like even to that effect, it was so crazy because one night I'm sitting in my room and I'm watching it was like some type of documentary where the New York Police Department blew the whistle on the corruption that was going on in the police department, and they were talking to you about how they're instructed to issue a certain quota of like citations and things throughout the neighborhoods. And if those cops aren't meeting those quotas, then you're usually penalized for it. If you're making the quotas, you're rewarded for it. So they're explaining to you that very culture, that side, the psychology of that culture, it pushes an officer to go out and give, you know, nonsense citations over petty, you know, saying matters just to meet the quota. Not that you saw something really happening, you're just trying to fill a quota.
Got to get that ticket off.
You got to get that ticket off.
And so this is the same for demerits?
Same for demerits. Why are you telling teachers that they have to use that system? If you have a good teacher that has the ability to connect with kids, you know, if there's a teacher there that can connect, then let them connect authentically. You know, I know that's where my best work came from. You know, and like I told him, it wasn't about black or white to me. It was about who cared for me. You know, I was a black kid and all.
And even to just, you know, and then pull them into a meeting and say, you're not giving enough demerits. You know what I mean? You know, even to do that, it's like, really?
Even for parents, I'm sure it's stressful for parents, you know, to constantly get the calls over and over about another demerit.
They're probably beating the hell out their kids by that point.
We hear that all day long. Like and that's another thing that they do. I feel that kind of like wears away at the parent. Right. You call them a million times over the pettiest of things to the point where the parents block our number. They don't even want to hear from Achievement First after a while. And now you're missing out on the calls for the more important things, or you don't get a call at all for the more important things,
or a call about good things. I like to call parents about good stuff too.
Which is totally disruptive to the home as well, man. This is a serious problem because now you got the parent and the kid constantly in the home with a bunch of confusion over some of these different things. This is sad.
I want to ask you, Ishmael, you were the first generation of these rules being implemented. How did you feel as a student? Did it feel weird? Did you feel like, yo, what's up with this? Were you questioning it then?
So odd enough, it was a different environment then. I think now you got like 700 students in that school.
Yeah.
When we was in there, it was 200 maximum, including staff.
Right.
So their freshman class is the size of the entire school. Their freshman class is like 168 kids. My graduating class was 34. So when they implemented these rules, I think the biggest thing which completely destroyed the system was the staff and the administration explained to us why they implemented the rules. You know, the one-on-one in the classroom and outside the classroom was there. When they issued those demerits and those level 2s and removed us from class, the teacher took time out of their day to talk to us, to interact with us, to foster.
Mm-hmm.
But now, because the ratio from teachers to students is so low, and there's so much, like 34 kids and like one teacher, and teachers got to bounce back and forth between classrooms, when you remove that one-on-one aspect, then it instantly becomes unintentionally discrimination, becomes racism. And then when you ignore it, once it falls apart, then it becomes institutionalized discrimination, institutionalized racism, because it's like the school first set out with the proper dream, the proper goal to help minority kids in the inner city, and it ended up becoming the very thing that's destroying them. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's the sad part about it. But you know, they did explain to us, they did have that one-on-one, and then just as time gone on, as the school got bigger, once the one-on-one disappeared, then it just completely destroyed the kids.
That's a good point right there. That one-on-one, that transparency, that conversation that needs to be had is now not there. So they rely on you to have it. But at the same time, they're saying, well, you got to give more demerits.
Exactly.
That's the correctional facility.
And that's what it feels like. I feel like a police officer every day over my own people, over my kids. And that's psychologically draining on you as a black man that considers yourself woke. Because as you start to see these things...
You activated, you're not woke.
You're activated, activated. Yeah, woke. Yeah, but activated, you know, and... You know, it bothers you after a while. You're looking at yourself in the mirror every day, like, yo, I'm about to go in here and do the same nonsense I just did yesterday that I don't really agree with. Yeah. You know, and it could be difficult on both, you know, not just the scholar, but also the staff.
So another thing that, I mean, parents really praise, and I was always impressed with, is the fact that there's 100% graduation rate. I mean,
college acceptance rate. 100% college acceptance rate. Big difference between graduating a 4-year college and them getting 100% of their high school students into college. That's the promise that they make. They work very, very, very hard getting your letters together, getting all your information together to get you into a 4-year college. The thing with that I saw this year is that a lot of scholars had their first choices. Even with that, they had their own mind set on where they wanted to go. But because Achievement First has better they have built relationships with certain colleges, they encourage kids to go to those colleges. So I had a young lady wanted to attend like Adelphi. And you know, that was her dream school. She didn't care if she got in or not. She just wanted to apply. And you know, I don't know if the lady did it intentionally, but you kind of discouraged her from going after her first choice to put her into a place that I guess you felt she would actually get into. But you know, once again, who are we helping by doing that? Right. You know, let our kids fall, scrape their knee, get back up. You bring the Band-Aid, wipe it off, and patch them back up, but you let them have that experience. You know, it's their experience to be had. And so even on Yeah, so they get them that's their job, is to get them into college 100%. You know, everybody they want in there.
But the intention on ensuring that they can graduate is a different story. What are those numbers?
Last time I heard of anything, it was like just hitting 40%.
Under 40%.
Under 40%, and we're talking about, this is talking about Ishmael and back to like maybe a few years ago, whatever the first few classes that graduated from Amistad, these are the ones that they're just now gathering some data from, the ones that should be finishing right now. And a lot of those kids are it's like 40% of them are actually finishing school.
Wow. Finishing college.
Finishing college, yes.
So while they're in school, I know, and I don't know if this was here when I was at Amistad, but when I was working there, but the grades where you automatically have a 35%.
Still like that.
For what?
For any grade, for any test that you take, you automatically
No,
have 35%.
they did it and they switched it my senior year. You started getting zeros.
Okay.
Did they change it back?
Switched it right
They
back.
switched it right back
We're right
because
back.
So explain what that is.
So they didn't want, so for the numbers and for the students' self-esteem and to help them get into college, they didn't want the kids to get zeros, because when you average out a zero with any number, to get back is the hardest thing in the world.
And for funding.
And for
Okay,
funding,
go
yeah,
ahead.
hardest thing in the world. So for both reasons, whenever you did not turn in an assignment, whenever you actually got lower than 35 on a test score, you'd automatically get a 35. 35 was their new zero. One, because it averaged out better, and two, because it helped both the funding and the student self-esteem. My senior year, I believe they switched it to zero. And then once that happened, obviously you saw the numbers
Drop.
drop.
Right.
And they were like, "Oh, that's not good."
Gotta put that
So,
old 35
so I guess
back.
after I left, they brought it back. But
35. Wow.
you know, that right there, it's counterproductive. You go to college, you get a zero, you get a zero. You
Right.
score a 26. Now, like I kid you not, my first year of college, I had a 200-person anthropology class. We took the final. I believe out of those 200 people, only like 32 of us passed that final.
Wow.
That's over 100 people. Now these are people that got that they may have tried their hardest and they got a 13%.
Yeah.
They ain't get 35%. They got 13.
They squinching their eyes looking
Yeah.
for the 30. Where my 35 at? Wait a minute.
35.
Wait a minute.
Then they got that 35.
This
Yeah,
ain't right.
Yeah, that was when they first started putting in the rule. I think they put that in after they implemented the uniforms, because
So
my freshman year didn't have uniforms.
So Steve, how have you been seeing that being an issue with students and their development as well?
I see, like with the young lady I was talking about, I see the false hope. I see the false self-esteem like being built only for you. What? Why you building me up right now? You're gonna send me out into the real world. They're gonna tear me
Crash
up.
and burn.
They're gonna tear me up, and then then who's gonna be there to pick up the pieces from that? So you telling kids right now, you're so great. I'm gonna fix it so that you get a 3.0 grade point average, when in fact you're probably really a 2.0, 2.7, and there's nothing wrong with that, because if you know where you're at, then you can grow from there. But if you got somebody that's telling you you're better than what you really are, they're only in actuality setting you up for success. Well, I'm not gonna tell you you're the best fighter and then go put you in the ring with Floyd Mayweather, knowing that you can't box.
You can't win, Rock.
You can't
You
win.
can't win, Rock.
You know.
So what kind of responses have you been getting since your 45-minute rant?
Since the 45-minute rant, we have now confirmed that it is not just an isolated incident in New Haven, that this is happening across all Achievement First schools, which shows you that it's systematic. It's not just a principal or one or two people. I've now gotten reports from AF Brooklyn, AF Hartford, AF Bridgeport, the different various middle schools, high schools that Achievement First runs. So it's not just for anybody who thought it was an isolated incident. It is now confirmed that it's not. Teachers up in New York are just as stressed as the teachers down here. That doesn't happen. There's no Morgan Barth in New York. So you can't blame Morgan for what's going on in New York, and you start to realize that it's a system type of thing.
There were other things too, though, that took place in the school as well. I mean, that I didn't even hear about. I know there was inappropriate behaviors between the student and the teacher.
We had a lot of that. We had a teacher who actually, she dealt with a couple of the seniors from the school, and my thing with that is, anytime you see something like that happens on the news, what do you normally see? somebody with a mugshot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's that mugshot?
Yo, this
When
is
you
real.
say dealt with a couple of seniors, you mean she.
Yeah, got it in, slept with, opened it up, busted open. You know,
That's almost like love muscle.
yeah. So
Really?
you
That was
know,
bad?
it was sad
It's
because
shocking.
once again, we as a staff, you knew what was going on. You were given, they issued a media statement, so to speak, you know, where you told us all like, hey, we had a little issue or whatever like this, and we're dealing with it. So their way of dealing with it was, she was escorted out, but we never heard anything else about it. And
Yeah, I've never heard about that.
And
What's her name? What's her name?
No.
I didn't want to do it to her like that.
What's wrong with you?
But I want to tell you what happened after that. What happened after that was they came out with they came out with a statement where basically the rules now changed. So it was already tight for a teacher to have a relationship with a scholar. They was already kind of stopping it. But now that this happened, everybody has to be penalized for it. So now you can't talk to a scholar on the phone. Like if a scholar wants to call you for help with homework, can't do that no more. You can't be in a room with a scholar, even with the like shade up and stuff. Like like you got to have somebody present. And when they came out with this statement and started issuing all these new rules behind what professional relationship looked like, the teachers who was doing any good in the school, they kind of like fell back a little bit.
Right.
Of course.
You know, because now if I do something that's perceived, you know, as
Absolutely.
not in accordance with the rules,
Right.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And it
So-
destroys that one-on-one, and you get that student disengagement even more.
Even more.
So,
Yo, this is the same thing. And this is very sad because I definitely also, while we got the time, I want to go back to this principal that put his hands on the child. Because if you put your hands on my child, Lord have mercy, I'm coming.
So why?
So how is this situation being dealt with? Like, certain things need to be done, man. This is not acceptable. And just to say this real quick, then I'll let you in. Y'all are not gonna keep doing this to the children in our community. We are not having it, and we are coming for you.
Thank you. That's my big point. I'm trying to push people to think. Look past what they're just saying in the media. Think about it, people. Like they're issuing a statement right now where they're telling you that he was already on his way out the door. They're telling you that they were already looking for new leadership. Okay? They told you that they didn't know about the video. I'm telling you, and I can show you the email where I sent it to them. They were fully aware of what was going on with Morgan Barth, and they did nothing about it. And just so that you know, it wasn't his first incident. Before he came to Achievement First High School, he was a superintendent. He was the superintendent up in Hartford, where he dragged a scholar down the hall, gave him bruises, a 7th grader. Gave him bruises. Black as well.
Of course.
The young lady who brought this to light to me, she was serving the same function as I served at the school. She was the only one that was present when it happened. She made the report. She showed me the report. She showed me the emails, everything. She made the report straight at the top. Who was involved in that? The same 3 people involved in the incident that happened at my school. Sandy, Morgan, Jeff. All 3 of the same people involved in the same situation. Jeff was a regional superintendent at the time. Morgan was the superintendent, and I think Sandy was serving in the same capacity that she serves now as a director of operations. This young lady made the comment. Nobody did anything, so she went to DCF. Called DCF. DCF came into the school to speak to people to get the scoop. They kept her from speaking with DCF.
they're moving like the Catholic Church.
Thank you. I didn't want to say. I didn't want to say it. My people told me don't say it. They said you don't want to get into it with the church.
Look, you didn't say it. You didn't say it.
You didn't say it.
This is the last.
That was good.
But that's just how they're moving. Because so what happens in this situation? The young lady's explaining to me, is that basically they demoted him. They made him a principal. They demoted Jeff. He's now the superintendent. And what did they do? They didn't get rid of him. They didn't fire him. They sent him over to Achievement First High School, where I was at. So in a few years, he ends up repeating that same behavior.
That's Sam Rothstein. You can't run the casino no more. You just you run the kitchen.
You know. And
No,
now,
man.
so now you left this man in the care of our kids, you know, to come over to a high school and do the exact same thing a few years later.
Were there criminal charges filed at the last incident or this incident?
No. There's no criminal charges. And people, be smart, wake up, learn the law, learn language. They're telling you, we did everything according to like the state guidelines, okay? State guidelines, there's a maximum, there's a minimum. So yes, you followed the state guidelines, but to what extent? You know, and you're only going to follow it upon your own moral compass. So your moral compass is broken.
Now, would that be upon the parents to push that? I mean, of course, with the support, it should be with the support of the community, you know. But would that be on the parents to like really push for those legal?
I think it's definitely on parents to push for these things. If we're not pushing for these things for our kids, who do we expect to do it?
But the problem is he assaulted a child.
That's
Why
what
do
I
the
mean.
parents have to stand up and say, I want... That's assaulting
Charges.
a minor.
Well,
I don't
right.
understand.
I say to parents because you're sitting here, like we're all watching this happen right now, real time.
Right.
And we're watching how the system, once again,
Right.
isn't doing anything to help us. And if we don't speak up for ourselves, nobody's going to speak up
Right.
for
It's the
us.
same way
Like
the
I've
kids
seen
spoke
parents
up
get
and
arrested for beating their own kids in Target.
Exactly.
But you know what I'm saying? Like that
But a
doesn't...
man that's making money in his book
Wow.
put in a
180,000.
and put in a place of authority is now, you know, given the leeway to do this to our kids, and we don't think that anything should happen. I look at us right now. We're content with the fact that he's out to school. Nobody's saying, well, what was the actual discipline?
Right.
You know, what was that discipline you gave him, and was it
warranted.
harsh enough?
And what school
did you give him the punishment he actually deserved?
Right.
And what school is he at now?
Well, I
'Cause
read
that's
that
what
he
they
had
do
to
is
take
shuffle
some
him.
kind of class. He's taking some kind of...
That was bullcrap. They wanted him to take a CPI training class. That's
Yeah.
the class that I take every year, or that I had to take every year to be certified to restrain kids if I had to.
So that means that he can go to another school after that?
Basically, it would have meant.
It's like when a cop mess up and they send him back to the academy and then he come back to the force.
Exactly. And that's exactly.
Wow.
Or maybe somewhere else.
So I mean, it's tough for parents because on one end you want your child to have the best education, you know, and I don't know why Hill House gets a bad rap as far as education. I mean, I always see,
They really did have one a while ago.
Yeah,
I
they
mean, but
did.
I see
Sure.
great students coming. I mean, great successful people, educated people coming
Come out of there.
But this is since the current Carolinas and different ones took over,
Right.
you know, and started really working in there for a while. That was gangland.
So,
It was. It actually, like when I was a kid, like 80% of the local crime was due to Hill House dropouts.
So a lot of the reasons, you know, with parents wanting to
You wrong for that.
It's a great school now. It's a great school now. But when I was a kid,
Got-
like, yo, who is this?
Jay's just rolling over and still talking.
Right, I'm in the
He got
comments
quiet.
waiting for you. I'm waiting.
So it's tough though because parents, you know, on one end you want the best for your child, you want them to have the best education, you want rules instilled
That's right.
that you do in your own home, you know. But at the same time, you have these schools that are perceived to they have a great facility, they have great resources, they try to instill this disciplinary method that clearly is only kind of taking the power away from a child, making them feel a little bit more stressed out, a lot more stressed out. So you got either public schools or you got charter schools. You know, from your experience, what would you say is best for parents to do?
I would say that I don't feel that there's a need for charter schools. It's just a divide and conquer type of thing. You're dividing the same system and giving it to people. You make one look a little bit better, but it's all the same system. So I feel like all that money that's being dumped into charter schools, bump them down, make them regular public schools or whatever, and spread that money out evenly so that we could possibly spread the kids out a little bit more, create smaller classrooms where teachers can actually have that one-on-one that Ishmael was talking about, where we can start fostering authentic relationships with the kids. Because like that principal from John T. Martinez said, if the climate and the culture of the school isn't set, then it's going to be hard to implement learning. Like, you can't have education in a hostile environment.
Right.
It just doesn't work like that.
So let the people know where to contact you, especially to watch this video. We're going to put it up on the Move Target page as well, but I know a lot of other people are going to want more questions answered.
Definitely.
And I want to give you some space to speak to, because I know it's tough leaving young people that you've been serving for so long.
Yep.
And I want to give you space to address them as well.
Yep. Oh man. You could reach me right now, Steve Cotton, on Facebook. I also do a lot of work in the community. You could also reach me at my community page, the Hill Free Pancake Breakfast page. You could just message me right now, and I'm responding to like all messages. I also want to throw out there that Miss Diane X Brown, she has helped me to put together our first call to action meeting. So February 6th, 600 Dixwell Ave, Stetson Library on the main floor, 6 o'clock p.m. We are all in the building. Bring your positivity, bring your thinking caps, and let's sit down and really discuss our vision for the school system, not the vision that they're willing to give us or that they want to give us. For all my scholars that I had to leave, I want you all to know that I did this because I felt you deserved it. I didn't care what I had to sacrifice. I just really felt like all of your stories need to be heard. And for my teachers that are working inside that place, I did it for you too. I know we all had those conversations, and I know a lot of you know why I did it, but a lot of you don't. I did it because I don't like the way you're being treated. And whether you know or realize that you're being treated wrong yet, you are. You know, so just be more aware, people. Keep your head up, stay activated.
And start being ready to fight. This is what is so important about building our society within a society.
94.3 WYBC, we thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for Electric Drum with Yusuf Shaw.
That baby said.
Yeah, because he hit right on the mark and you was about to go in.
No, I wasn't.
Enough to where
I looked at you.
Yo, we don't trust you.
We got that's fine.
We can't trust you. We can't trust you.
That's fine, but you know, yeah, that's why he said like, oh, okay.
Because you could be 3
that's in
seconds
my
or 30
Diane,
seconds.
yo.
We don't know. 1
Yeah,
minute.
yeah, it's a lot to be said.
Yeah, yeah.
Generation.